Hi again, everyone. I'm Mark Keller. Thank you for joining us this week on Inside Sports. And can you believe it? We've reached the end of season 11 here at Inside Sports. We're glad you're here with us. We're going to leave you on a bit of a cliffhanger, as we have a couple of basketball teams still alive in postseason play as we shoot this episode, but we'll do our best to wrap up the season today with the help again of the Herald Mail Insiders. First up, Kevin Dunleavy joins me to talk boys basketball. The Williamsport Wildcats are the only Washington County public school team to advance to the section finals. We'll look at how they got there and some of the other happenings in the MPSSAA tournament, as well as how St. Maria Goretti fared in the Baltimore Catholic League tournament. Then Bob Parsoletti stops by to talk girls basketball, where the Smithsburg Leopards are the only team to reach the section finals in the MPSSAA tournament. Bob will discuss the path they took to get there and some of the other things we saw in the postseason. And finally, Andy Mason wraps up the wrestling season with a look back at last weekend's state tournament, where Washington County had something happen that hadn't occurred in almost a decade. So buckle up, the winter season wrap-up starts with Kevin on boys basketball right after this.
When you elevate nurses, you reduce an entire town's blood pressure. Specialized medical training means top nurses, top care. Meritus. Healthcare transformed. How do you give a patient healthier healthcare? Give her doctor, nurse, PA, and therapist the same health record. Introducing electronic health records. One patient, one record, one click. Meritus. Healthcare transformed.
For the last 2 years of my education, I was going to work full-time, school full-time, and raising 2 young children by myself. I think that anybody who's desiring to continue their education or to advance their career, I think that USMH provides convenient location, affordable pricing, and again, they have instructors that really care about sending their students off with the experience and the education that they need to succeed.
When it comes to hearing loss, who will be taking care of you? Audiologist Dr. Karen Hamilton is Hagerstown's hearing doctor, working to improve the quality of life for those with hearing loss. At Audiology Services, Dr. Hamilton focuses on evaluation and diagnosis to provide solutions for treating hearing loss. Using the latest technology, she programs hearing aids to meet your unique needs and ensures they fit properly and comfortably. Audiology Services participates with most insurance companies and will check benefits and file claims on your behalf. Dr. Hamilton and her team also serve the community through Hagerstown Hearing, which focuses on providing crystal clear sound in places such as theaters, churches, offices, and homes. Hagerstown Hearing installs looping systems that allows those with hearing loss to enjoy speech clarity and noise reduction, providing an experience like never before. To learn more about Audiology Services and Hagerstown Hearing, call 301-790-3300. Audiology Services and Hagerstown Hearing, providing crystal clear sound.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. Going to start off this week's show with boys basketball. Herald Mail insider Kevin Dunleavy here to join us. And before we get to the MPSSAA tournament, we're going to talk about the Baltimore Catholic League tournament. And Kevin, you saw a thriller, St. Maria Goretti playing St. Francis, and things, unfortunately, didn't go the Gales' way.
Yeah, Goretti had a 10-point lead late in the third quarter. They looked like they were really destined. They've got 5 seniors in the starting lineup. So, you know, I already had my story kind of written that this was their last chance to make a big statement. Goretti had not won the BCL since 2001, so it would have been a huge win. But St. Francis has a player that's really special, Ace Baldwin, and he's just a junior, 6-foot guard. And he took over in the fourth quarter and hit the game-winning shot. You know, very low percentage shot, but he hit it, and he's a really clutch player. In the fourth quarter alone, he had 11 points, 5 assists, and 4 steals. I mean, you just don't see that in one quarter. Feel terrible for Goretti. They look devastated, rightfully so, because they played a fantastic game.
And it again shows the strength of the Baltimore Catholic League. You know, a team like Goretti, and Goretti has had some fine teams over the last couple of years, and they haven't won that title since 2001. Quite telling about that. Might have another shot, Goretti, against St. Francis, though, right?
Yeah, they play in the Alhambra tournament. They'll start with St. John's, and they'd have to win, I think, 2 games to get to St. Francis. But it'd be a nice way to finish up the season to get a couple wins up there, and the competition's always elite. Also be nice to play Bishop Walsh, who they lost to earlier this year, and that's a full tournament, 8 really solid teams. Bishop Walsh is now a powerhouse. It wasn't the case before, so it's going to be interesting to see how that turns out.
Okay, well, let's shift now to the MPSSAA tournament. I mentioned in the open that Williamsport, the only team to reach the section finals, they did so in 2A West. Section 2, beating Walkersville, and so now they have Middletown coming up. Actually, as we're filming this on Wednesday, they'll play that game Wednesday night, and Williamsport kind of where we expected them to be at this point, right?
Yeah, they've always been a good playoff team, and they've ran into the last 5 years, they've ran into a team either in the semifinal or the section finals or the region finals who's been, been a juggernaut. So they always bring their best in the postseason. It looks like they have so far this year, and they get past Middletown today, and they'll have a tough game because it's likely Oakdale. Oakdale, if they defeat Century on the other side of the bracket, would be waiting there in the finals. And Williamsport lost to them twice this year, but the second game was pretty competitive, and I think they would go into that with a lot of confidence, even though they've been a really tough opponent over the years.
Let's look back at some of the other things that happened in the tournament, in Class 1A, especially 1A West, where we have 4 teams from Washington County in there. You kind of expect somebody to make it through the mix there, and that didn't happen this year.
Yeah, it's kind of stunning that everyone lost their first round playoff game, and we had a 1 seed in Clear Spring, a 3 seed in Smithsburg. Boonesboro had a really tough assignment. They had to go up against New Era of Baltimore, and that was not a close game, but that was tough to have to go on the road and play that one. But Smithsburg, they were having a really good year and kind of flatlined late in the year. They scored. I checked this. They first 13 games of the year they were averaging 69 points a year, or 69 points a game. The last 7 games they averaged 49 points a game. So just a big drop off, and without really any injuries or anything that really you can point to. So maybe teams figured them out. It's a tough way to finish. They had 3 sophomores in the starting lineup, so they've got a bright future, but that was still a disappointing way to go out for them.
You mentioned losing to Brunswick in the number 6 seed there, who came into the tournament on a 17-game losing streak. Yeah. Certainly not the way you want to go out there. Clear Spring, I'm assuming they had to be pretty devastated with their loss to FSK, losing in overtime in that one.
Yeah, they had a good year. They were a 500 team this year. To be a number 1 seed, that was a little misleading because it is a really weak section overall. FSK is right on their level. I think Clear Spring probably plays a little easier schedule than FSK does. So they were sort of overseeded, and but they might have won that game if Nick Faith didn't get hurt in the 4th quarter. He's their second best player and really good shooter, spreads the defense out, and that was a really tough break for them. Still a really good year for them.
You mentioned Boonesboro losing to New Era, and then in Section 1, we had Hancock, who gave Allegheny quite a game in losing in the first round there as well.
Yeah, they lost at home to a lower-seeded team, but make no mistake about it, they were the team that was the underdog in that game because Allegheny plays a much more difficult schedule, and even though their record this year wasn't as good as Hancock's, it was that was kind of deceiving. And Hancock played a really good game to make it a 71-63 finish. Justice Allen had 19 points, and he's been a really good player for them this year as their point guard.
And finally, in 3A West, we had North Hagerstown and South Hagerstown scoring off in the first round. North winning that one and coming from way back in order to do that.
Yeah, miraculous comeback. They were down by 17 points with 9 minutes left and pulled it out with just a furious rally. All based on defense. They just swarmed the backcourt of South, which had some bad luck. Davion Spann went out with a shoulder injury, and another player, one of their other ball handlers, fouled out. So it made it difficult for them to deal with the pressure defense, and North just got a lot of points in a short period of time. In those 9 minutes, they got 39 points. So that shows how much they blitzed South over that last quarter.
And then unfortunately the Hubs had the tables turned on them in the next round against Linganore, as Linganore came back to eliminate the Hubs.
Yeah, they had a 4-point lead with 1:25 left. They were looking good. They had played a really good fourth quarter to come back, get the lead, and then things just sort of fell apart. When you look back at the game, they made too many turnovers in the game. I think they had 21, and a lot of them were just unforced turnovers. It was very uncharacteristic because they haven't been sloppy at all when I've seen them this year, and that was a little bit of sloppiness, but they still brought a lot of intensity in the fourth quarter and played well to get back in it. And the other team was really motivated because they had lost to North last year, same situation, same stage, and in a little bit of an upset.
Kevin, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it. We'll have Bob Parcelletti here to wrap up the girls' basketball season right after this.
We've been coming to Rick's for about 3 or 4 years. The staff at Rick's is wonderful.
It is the cheers of Hagerstown.
Everybody knows your name.
They've actually become a lot of our friends.
Treat you like family. They know you by name.
It's nice to be able to go somewhere as quality as this that's not a chain restaurant.
The food is unique. They get creative. It's fresh food.
And they make great drinks.
The word is in. Local, casual, and always epic. That's Rick's Cafe.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. We're going to switch gears from boys basketball to girls now. We have Bob Parcelletti here from the Herald Mail. And Bob, kind of a rough go for the Washington County girls in the tournament. One team left, Smithsburg girls. They beat Brunswick, beat Catoctin to reach the section finals. Tell us a little bit about Smithsburg. We've talked a good bit about them throughout the season. How did they get here?
Well, I think they've always had the offense. And I think a big boost for them is Ashley Davis being healthy. She's played the first 3 years now, but she's never made it to this point of the season. She's always been hurt and out, you know. And she's been a really steadying force for them because she's played some point guard and she gets the assist. She's good with the ball on moving and getting places to shoot. And I think it takes a lot of pressure off of the other players. For example, Bailey Grove. Last year, with the way things were going and people being hurt and that, there was a lot of things on her shoulder, and she was basically a one-man wrecking crew in there. A lot of rebounds and a lot of trips to the foul line. And this year she's got half the trips to the foul line because she doesn't have to do as much in this game, I think. So I think that helps them. The other thing is that they were one of those teams that pressed but hated to be pressed. And now they're one of those teams that play some really good defense. And if their defense really sets the tone so they can run the ball, and they really don't press anymore. It's more of a trap situation, and that's helped them a lot.
So the Leopards are in the Section 2 final. They'll be playing at Francis Scott Key, who's the top seed in that section. The Leopards beat FSK just recently, and they beat Boonsboro to get to this point. You covered the FSK Boonsboro game, so what can you tell us about Francis Scott Key and how Smithsburg can possibly beat them to move on into the region final?
Well, I think Key's got a little bit more height than Smithsburg has. I don't think they'll be shocked by defense. I think they play pretty well. They have like 2 or 3 players that can really handle the ball, and they have 2 or 3 players that can really play inside. Now, I didn't see the first game where Smithsburg did win, but by what I saw against Boonsboro, I mean, they are unselfish. They pass the ball. They look for open people, and they score off of it. I mean, they did a great job of finding the open person and getting easy shots against Boonsboro. Now, I don't think it'll be the same kind of play because there's a little more height in there and there's a little more experience on the inside than what Boonsboro had. But I could see this being a battle. But if Francis Scott Key plays like they did Tuesday night, it could be a tough go for Smithsburg. They just have to overcome what Francis Scott Key does well.
Well, let's talk about that because before we went on here, we were talking a little bit about that game, and you mentioned that FSK just shut Boonsboro down offensively. They held them without a field goal for more than a period.
It was actually about I think I figured about 13 minutes and 20 or 50 seconds, I think, around there. And they took a 5-0 lead, or 7-0 lead. Boonesboro fought back, got its only lead of the game, and then all of a sudden it just shut down from there. And there were points in time in that game where Boonesboro would get the ball inside but never get a shot. It was like it would get to like within 5 feet of the basket, all of a sudden the ball was going the other direction. It was either they were pulling the ball down too far and people were grabbing it, or there was messing around on the ground level or everything. But they never really got into a position where they could shoot the ball. And then when they got behind, they were starting to take shots, but they were forced shots. So it was one of those things where a lot of things were going on, and but it wasn't going well for Boonesboro. And there was one point in time there in the second and third quarter where they made one shot in 26 tries, and that doesn't go well.
Well, as I said, kind of a disappointing season as far as the playoffs went for Washington County, but the future looks kind of bright. We talked about some players throughout the course of the season here that some underclassmen that have really made an impact for some teams, and Boonesboro had a couple of them as well. Talk about those.
Well, the one that I think is the diamond in the rough in this situation is Allie Leone. They moved her in as the point guard, and they told her she was going to be the point guard. That was the job of Caitlin Rogers in the past, and they moved Caitlin over to the more of a wing or shooting guard position and let Allie take care of the ball. And as the seasons progressed, she became really, really confident in what she did. She hit a couple of big shots in a couple of the games that I saw later in the season. Against Smithsburg, she hit like a couple of big jumpers, and she really seems to feel very comfortable in there. Sam Conley, the coach over at Boonesboro, really credits Rogers and Morgan Dyer of coaching her up, telling her not to do, what to do, and she's doing a very good job. I think she's one to watch in the time to come.
So with that sort of down year, we'll call it, in the county, and the number of underclassmen going, do you see a couple of these teams rebuilding and sort of making making headway next year?
Well, I think in a lot of ways there's only one way to go in some cases. I mean, a lot of these teams only had 2, 3, 4 wins. So, I mean, there's only one way to really go for that. I think the thing is that a lot of the teams strike me sometimes as being a little timid with the ball, afraid to, they think more than they play. And I think a little bit of experience is going to help some of these teams. I think South High's got a player in Paige Whittington that if she, is able to do her thing and they put some people around that help her, they could do some things in the future, for example.
Talked a lot about St. James this season and the year that they had, a very successful season, and you talk about diamonds in the rough and players who kind of came out of nowhere and made an impact this year. They're probably the best examples there at St. James.
Well, they had two, and I mean, you give Skylar Treadwell everything and Morgan Mosley everything that they deserve, but I'm really impressed with Morgan McMahon and Gabby
Grantham Medley.
Grantham Medley, because both of them play very, very well. I mean, Morgan McMahon is such a handles the ball, and she's just learning how to play point guard, but she's so good at passing the ball and getting the ball in position and getting them up the floor and playing defense on the point. And Grantham Medley, she's just done a great job. I mean, everybody's wondering what she's going to be because she's only an 8th grader, so there's 4 more years of her.
Should be fun to watch. Bob, as always, thanks a bunch for joining us. Appreciate it. We'll be back with Andy Mason to wrap up the wrestling season right after this.
Frostburg's program at USMH was definitely closer to home, allowed me to stay at home while I had the opportunity to substitute in Washington County Public Schools. The scholarships at USMH really allowed me to walk out, being able to pay it off much more quickly and being able to pursue my graduate degree at a quicker rate. I would say to anyone considering USMH, allows you to build better relationships in the community and something that's definitely a great opportunity to pursue and leads to a better career.
We've been coming to Rick's for about 3 or 4 years. The staff at Rick's is wonderful.
It is the cheers of Hagerstown.
Everybody knows your name.
They've actually become a lot of our friends.
Treat you like family. They know you by name.
It's nice to be able to go somewhere as quality as this that's not a chain restaurant.
The food is unique. They get creative. It's fresh food.
And they make great drinks.
The word is in. Local, casual, and always epic. That's Rick's Cafe.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. As we wrap up season 11 here, we're going to wrap up the wrestling season. Herald Mail sports editor Andy Mason joins us. And Andy, kind of an unusual situation for Washington County Wrestling this year. Something that happened at the state tournament this year that hasn't happened in quite some time.
Yeah, well, first of all, we had no champions for the first time in 5 years, and not even a finalist for the first time in 9 years. And that's, wasn't expecting that after the great season that, a lot of wrestlers had in the county. I will say this though, it was not, and I wrote this in my story, it all wasn't lost. It was not, it was overall I would still say a good tournament for the county. We had 7 place winners. That's a very good number. To place at states, you have to finish top 6 in your weight class. We had 7 of those, and we had 5 third place finishers, which in a lot of cases, that's not that much different than finishing second. And the difference, you're not in the finals, but if you finish third, you get to end the tournament with your arm raised, and that's a pretty good feeling. And so we had 5 kids in the championship semifinals Saturday morning, and they all lost. But 4 of them lost to the eventual champions. So, still, what can you do?
Yeah, oh no, like you say, and just unusual. And I think, over the years we have gotten a little bit spoiled. It seems like we always have someone who's in contention, someone who comes home with that gold medal.
Just 3 years ago, 2016, we had 8 finalists, 6 champions. I mean, and that was just 3 years ago. That was like the best season of all time for the county, and we were just 3 years past that. Now, we had a number of kids who went down there as title contenders. They just fell a little bit short. But finishing third, Williamsport went down with 7 kids. They had 3 place winners, three third place winners, Zach Starr at 106 pounds, Zayden Meyer at 113, and Taquan Johnson at 285. And all 3 of those guys were guys who lost to the eventual champions in the semifinals, all 3 of them very close decisions. And they bounced back, got 2. They won in the Conci semis and won the Conci finals to get third. And then Shane Havermail finished third at 120 pounds, and Caleb Everhart from South finished third 4A, 3A at 138 pounds.
We talked a good bit about Johnson throughout the season, and Havermail and Everhart again the last couple weeks as well. But tell us a little bit about Zach Starr and Zayden Meyer, kind of names that have been a little bit under the radar for us here on the show.
Yeah, well, Zach Starr is just a freshman, so this is the first year we've had a chance to talk about him. He's great. He lost in the semifinals. He lost 1-0 to the eventual champion from Mountain Ridge. And then he bounces back in his third place match. He faced a kid from Southern Garrett who beat him twice this season already. He beats him, I believe it was 4-0 for third place. Great future ahead of him. Getting that placing as a freshman, there've only been 6 in the history of Washington County. Only 6 wrestlers have ever placed all 4 years at the state tournament. Usually the one that's missing for a lot of these kids is freshman year. So Zach Starr has that freshman year. And Zayden Meyer, he was 4th last year at 106 pounds. This year at 113, he gets 3rd, so that was some improvement. But talking about 4-time state place winners, Shane Havermail this year became the 6th. And, he was 5th at 106 pounds as a freshman, second at 106 as a sophomore, 2nd at 113 as a junior. And this year, after back-to-back runner-up finishes, it was like, this is finally his year to win the title. It didn't happen. He was upset in the quarterfinals on Friday, bounced back Saturday, won 4 straight matches, become a 4-time state place winner.
Great career even without that title. A great career for Havermail, as you mentioned. Finished as Smithsburg all-time win leader.
Yeah, finished with a career record of 143-18, the 143 wins, the most in school history. So yeah, he did it all in his career, everything but win that state title. But that's something most kids don't do. He just missed. And the kid who ended up winning is Poolesville's Alex Carbonell, who finished 2nd to Havermail at the region tournament the weekend before. So, it was there for the taking. He just missed, but he didn't. Once he lost, he did not just. I've seen kids. Their tournament's done after that happens. Terrible upset, and they just sort of bow out. He didn't. He kept fighting. like I said, won 4 matches Saturday, finished strong.
You mentioned a pretty exclusive company that Havermail joins, a list of Aaron Brooks, Mike McGill, Wayne Boward, Doug Beatty, and Kenny Rhodes, 4-time place winners in Washington County history. Talk about the other kids who finished on the podium in Washington County.
Yeah, well, Josh Atkinson finished 5th, and I'm sure he was disappointed. That was his first time at state, senior, had a great season. He went down there as a title contender. Didn't happen. He got 5th. But he still, so he lost in the semifinals, and then he lost in the consolation semifinals. So that threw him in the 5th, 6th bout. And here's a kid who'd only lost once all year coming into this, and now he has back-to-back losses. But he finished his season with the win to get 5th place. Not what he wanted, but he finished with a win, and had a great senior year, great career. And then Thomas Mon, another freshman from North, he suffered a shoulder injury in the consolation semifinals, and he lost that by decision. And then he didn't compete in the 5th, 6th bout, so he ended up 6th.
What was the best match you saw down there over the weekend? Can you pick one out that?
One out. Tell you what impressed Caleb Everhart. He just dominated his kid. I think the score was only 5-0, but just he might be the most improved wrestler in Washington County, and he was already really good. He got to states as a freshman, suffered a broken arm in his first match at states. I think he was up like 10-1, third period, suffered a broken arm. His freshman year's done. Last year he went back, disappointing. He went in as a region champ last year, finished 1-2 at states. This year, man, he's so strong, so fast, so technically sound. And in his 3rd place match, I think Jacob Birdstein from Walter Johnson, I think that's who he faced, one of the top kids in the state. Obviously, they're in that match, but just dominated him. He's just a junior. I expect him to come back next year and win that state title.
Was there anybody who kind of didn't perform as expected?
Yeah,
maybe?
Yeah, sure. Tyler Cook from North. Last year, he was the state runner-up at 113 pounds, 4A, 3A. This year, he didn't get on the podium at 126 pounds. Then you have Brandon Oyster from Williamsport. Last year, placed 3rd at 195 pounds. This year, didn't place at all. Both those guys went 2-2, fell a win short of placing. But the good news for them is they're both juniors. They'll be back next year. So, they can try to get it done next year.
Yeah. Well, like you said, it doesn't mean it make any less of the season, but 20 qualifiers for the state tournament this year from Washington County.
Yeah, and I think 18 of those kids got wins this weekend. So that's great. And a lot of them are coming back.
All right. Well, Andy, thanks a bunch for wrapping up the season for us. We'll be back to wrap up season 11 of Inside Sports right after this.
For the last 2 years of my education, I was going to work full-time, school full-time, and raising 2 young children by myself. I think that anybody who's desiring to continue their education or to advance their career, I think that USMH provides convenient location, affordable pricing, and again, they have instructors that really care about sending their students off with the experience and the education that they need to succeed.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. As we close out this episode and season 11, I wanted to take a moment to give thanks to a few people who've helped make this season possible and hopefully, in your eyes, successful. First off, our regulars, the Herald Mail insiders who are with us every week. Bob Parcelletti, Kevin Dunleavy, Andy Mason, Dan Kaufman, and Tim Kelby provide us their expertise and their insight throughout the sports year. If you want to know what's going on in sports in Washington County, these are the guys to tell you, and we're thankful to have them as part of the show. The crew members for our live broadcasts who do an amazing job shooting and producing local sports programming, plus the on-air analysts that I had the pleasure of working with this season, Greg Kellick, Letty Wilkes, and Barry Brown. And finally, 2 guys who work incredibly hard to put this show together behind the scenes each week, Dave Dahl and Jim Turner. The common denominator is that all of these people work incredibly hard, and in doing so, they make the job of the host so much easier. Most of all, thank you, the viewer, for your continued interest in our show. If anyone tells you there's only one place that you can get TV coverage of local sports in Washington County, they're wrong. Inside Sports has been bringing you great analysis and insight into the local high school sports scene for 11 years now, and if all goes according to plan, we'll be back here in September for season 12, and we hope you join us then. For all of us here at Inside Sports, I'm Mark Keller, saying thank you, and we'll see you next year on The Inside.
Hey, your sisters and your brothers, your haters and your lovers, you gotta get up in the streets.